Bill Russell would be so proud. The 2024 Bill Russell Finals MVP goes to Jaylen Brown.
Welcome back to another episode of the No Narratives Podcast. This is episode 8. I'm with my guy, K Stagg. This one is going to go on the No Narratives Podcast channel, as well as my personal channel, as well as my guy, K Stagg's personal YouTube channel. So you're going to get all three on different locations, essentially. All on YouTube, of course. How you been, man? What's been going on? I think the last time we talked, the Mavericks went up 3-0 on the Wolves. So it's been like 3 weeks.
Was that really the last time?
For the last episode, for the No Narratives podcast. Yes.
That was,
yes.
That feels like it's been a month ago at this point.
Shoot. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Man, I've been doing good, man. Just life. That's what it is. Just life. I moved, I got promoted. So now I'm working on night shift again. So, getting my sleep schedule right back on that. And then been buying furniture, so I feel like I'm a damn handy.
I'm about to move with you.
Shoot, I'm over here building. I just got done building patio furniture, and I just got done building a dresser. So I feel like a damn handyman at this point.
When you gonna have a kickback, bro? We got to come out there. We got to come up out there, man. Hang out just for a little bit.
Retrospect, bro, I could do that probably in the next couple of weeks, just due to the fact that I've got furniture for everybody to chill at. It's just, I'm trying to get up with the times and stuff, try to out with the old, in with the new kind of thing,
Facts.
so, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Cause but I still got everything going on here at the apartment, but yeah, I definitely need to invite some of the crew out here, just cause the only problem is, I live like 45 minutes away.
It's a road trip, bro. Fuck it. We stop at the Buc-ee's.
It's a road
Everything
trip,
in Houston is 45 minutes anyway. When you factor in traffic, everything is 45 minutes. All we got to do is wait till about 7:30 to head to your spot. We'll get there quick.
It don't matter. No matter how you scratch it, it's a long distance relationship, regardless of how things go.
Facts. No, but man, look, you see, we both got on our green. You got your microphone color green, I believe. Mine is green. I'm not sure. Who cares? But I got the little Rockets. The Rockets San Diego jerseys. They're green or whatever. You got your green on.
The closest green I've got to anything. So
we both not green people, so it's cool. It is what it is. The Celtics have won the championship, the 2024 finals. Jaylen Brown gets finals MVP. The Celtics raised banner number 18. What was your breakdown of the game or the overall series? Did you have any key points? Was there anything that you noticed? Like, how are you feeling? Are you happy with the results? Did you want Dallas to win? Who did you pick? Like, all of that. I want to know as much as you can give me, and then I'll go after you.
I got you. So I think how it shook out was how it was going to shake out. Like, at the end of the day, I think everyone knew that the Celtics were the odds-on favorite to win this, just due to the fact that the team that they had. I think their first 6 players could be are starters, and the sixth player could be a starter on any other roster in the league. So they had a much deeper team. It seemed like they had a more cohesive team, where they didn't just rely on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to score and get their shots. Everyone could do something, and that's ultimately what transpired. My pick, I guess, because I'm a Rockets fan, so Western Conference team, Texas team. Regardless of the fact that it's a Dallas team, I guess I was cheering for the Mavericks. I'm a Luka fan. I'm a Kyrie fan. I wanted to see Luka get his first. I wanted to see Kyrie do it with a new team and do it with a fresh start. But ultimately, I think I just don't think the Mavericks had the firepower for it. PJ Washington looked great in that in that Timberwolves series, and he looked good a couple of times in this series, but ultimately he was
good all throughout the Western Conference playoffs. Versus the Clippers, he was good. Yep. Versus OKC, he was good. Versus Minnesota, he was good. But Boston, you got to give them credit. They took away what he does.
Boston took him away. Boston took. I think Kyrie only had like 18 points or something like that. He wasn't all that efficient either. So or 15 points, excuse me. Boston you got to give Boston credit. Their defense was there, and they switched well. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and who is the other wing?
Drew Holiday.
Yeah, Drew Holiday. There we go. All played great defense on Kyrie and Luka, and any of their wings, to where they really couldn't get into any kind of a comfort zone. I mean, we can say comfort zone. The only comfort that they had, the only comfort that Dallas had, was Game 4. But I promise you, that was. I swear that was just Boston saying, "All right, we're gonna go back to Boston and win."
They packed it in. They had 35 points at halftime. Like you haven't seen 35 points at halftime since 1997. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're absolutely right. That was ridiculous.
They were like, we've done our part. We're up 3-0. We won one in Dallas. We're gonna go back and win it in front of everybody, or win it in front of the home crowd in Boston. Dallas, y'all gonna have this. But I mean, ultimately, I wanted Dallas to win, but realistically, it was going to be the Celtics. It had to be the Celtics. In my eyes, it's had to be the Celtics for the last. They've had to get a championship for at least the last couple of years, just because of how short of expectations they have fallen with the team they have, with Tatum and Brown being at the top of the roster. I feel like they haven't. I mean, they've fallen short. I mean, that's been the criticism that they've received. So I feel like they had to get it done, and I mean, and they got it done. And then the fact that they got it done too with that, with losing Porzingis, game 3.
Which one? You said they lost or they won?
No.
They lost Porzingis. They lost Porzingis in game 2.
Was it game 2? Okay, game 2. But they didn't skip a beat. Al Horford came in. No problem whatsoever. Came in and did his thing, and I mean, that's really the next man up mentality at that point. But like I said before, Boston just has a much deeper roster.
Yeah, I think they were so used to playing without Kristaps Porzingis that when he was out, I was kind of like, I mean, they're used to playing with him. It's not the end of the world. They played essentially the entire playoffs without Kristaps Porzingis. So I mean, obviously he's impactful on both sides of the floor, but they're not really missing him. It's not like that was their first time without him in that series, and then they just didn't know what to do, or in the playoffs, I should say. But I said something.
Let me ask you this, since we're on Porzingis real quick, let me ask you this. You think he should just hang up the shoes?
No.
I mean,
no,
you don't think
he
so?
just signed an extension. They need him. He's essential. I think that this series he's got.
I'll say this.
He's
a great talent. When he's on the court, he's a great talent. But it just seems to me that he can't stay on the court.
I think that you just got to deal with that. It's like Joel Embiid. Like, you wouldn't tell Joel Embiid to hang it up. You just got to deal with it and manage it the best way as possible. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those situations.
As a coach, would you give him limited minutes every night?
No, I would play him until he got hurt. I would play him normally because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen if you put him on 16-minute restriction, or if you play him 32 minutes. In my opinion, it's going to happen. I'm sure there's some medical research that would denounce everything that I said, but I just feel like a fluke injury is a fluke injury. If you're injury prone, you're injury prone. There's nothing you can do. You can go out there for 30 seconds and pull something. Like, you're injury prone.
And I remember watching that game, and the landing when it happened live, and the landing he had, I was like, that looked odd. Like,
he didn't even land. He was boxing out, trying to get, like, boxing out at the free throw line. He didn't jump or anything, and then just dislocated whatever that ligament is. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a fluke. Like I said, it's like, how do you prevent that with minutes restriction? How do you prevent somebody boxing out at the free throw line from getting hurt? Like, that's a part of basketball. Like, that's boxing out. He didn't dunk. He didn't land wrong. He didn't cut, like, anything. So it's just a fluke injury. But I said this earlier. This run when the Celtics won game 1, the Dallas Mavericks, although their road to the finals was undoubtedly more difficult than the Boston Celtics, they still really didn't play anybody. The Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard. They had the corpse of him when he played. You don't really believe in James Harden and Paul George. Then when you go to the Oklahoma City series, OKC in the first round swept the Pelicans team that had no Zion, and they only had 2 players within the active roster. They got active minutes that had playoff experience, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort. Then you're talking about the Minnesota series. Now, I will say, I picked Minnesota to beat Dallas. I thought Minnesota would win the championship. But Minnesota obviously showed that they weren't ready. And if they didn't fold against the Mavericks, they were going to fold versus Boston because they just wasn't ready for the moment. Boston was ready for the moment. They've been through the failure. They've been through the fire. This was the best team that the Mavericks have played all finals. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the outcome of this series shouldn't be as shocking as people think. And I think going into this
Oh
series,
yeah.
a lot of people picked the Mavericks because of what happened with the Minnesota series. But let me say this last point. Even the 3 games that me and you discussed when we said we hadn't recorded with each other since game 3, all 3 of those games, game 1, game 2, and game 3 of the Minnesota and Dallas series were close games. I don't think either of them was like all combined. If you combine the score, I don't think it was decided by more than 10 points. So
No, it
those,
wasn't.
like, even though they struggled, Anthony Edwards played like ass, Karl Anthony Towns played like ass, and it was
Oh,
3-0 in close games.
we can even go this. They were losing going into the fourth quarter. They won
And
those games
Minnesota
in the fourth
imploded.
quarter, and it's
Imploded.
because you and I talked about the lack of coordination and offensive execution by the by the Timberwolves, and that was the ultimate reason why the Timberwolves couldn't win that series because of the lack of offensive execution and I guess the lack of experience in the moment. When it came to clutch time,
Exactly.
they
Exactly.
couldn't
They
pull it off.
folded. They folded. You're like, and you're so right with the experience part, bro. You're like, that's the best point that you are making right now. It's like I think that everybody falls in love with talent over being there. And if the 2 teams are equally matched talent wise, experience, in my opinion, is going to win
Experience
over.
is going to come through, and even then, I think experience. Even if your teams aren't matched up talent wise, experience is still going to play a factor
For sure.
because
For sure.
if you've got a player who is more experienced, he's not going to let the moment affect him more than someone who lacks experience might.
Yes. Correct.
Unless you just got someone who's got, the God-given talent and they put in the work, and even though they lack experience, they don't give a shit. They're going to go out and do what they do. So in that moment, experience doesn't matter. Their mindset is, I'm going to go out and handle my business regardless. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, I personally liked the playoffs. Like, I talked to a lot of I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people have been kind of like, "Oh, the playoffs are boring this year," and I didn't like it. I talked to some Houston fans, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't watch it." I was like, I'm a Houston Rockets fan, and I have to say this. I enjoyed the fact that the Rockets weren't in the playoffs because I could sit here and actually enjoy watching the playoffs without sitting there and being stressed out watching the Rockets play. Yeah, it's just like, I could actually just sit here, kick back in my recliner.
Enjoy this year because next year they're going to be in there.
No, they're going to be in there. But this isn't about the Rockets. This is about the Boston Celtics. So, but
I agree with you. I enjoyed the postseason as well. I don't understand this notion of basketball not being fun. Like, now, what are you going to watch? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
People say that. Like, what are you going to watch now? Like, I mean, the WNBA is obviously here, but like, if you miss NBA basketball, if you are a fan of NBA basketball, now what are you going to watch? You got to wait until the Olympics get here. So stop crying and just enjoy the process.
Like, what are you going to watch, period? I mean, my dad and I were talking about that yesterday is, what are you going to watch, period? If you're a Houston fan, the Astros are
33-39, second in the AOS.
Yeah, well, they're
surprised
still
you did not. You didn't think I knew baseball.
And it's not even that. I'm surprised you knew that off the rip. But I mean, you had that right off the rip. But I mean, they're not playing to their potential. And granted, they've been hit with a lot of injuries, but still, it's just like watching them is a crapshoot. And then we're sitting here waiting. The next closest thing is the NFL season. I mean, it's all speculation at this point. So for anyone who is hating on the NBA playoffs, it's like you said, well, what are you going to do now? What you going to watch now? I mean, the UFL's over now. Congratulations to Birmingham. They shut out San Antonio for the UFL championship. Congratulations to them. I just happened to see that on Bleacher Report. I wouldn't even pay attention. I just happened to see that on Bleacher Report.
Well, let's try to stay with the Celtics because I know how me and you can get. We can go and talk about some sports shit. What did you think about? I want to get into a little negativity, I guess. What did you think about? I guess Luka Doncic's performance and Kyrie Irving's performance, specifically Kyrie Irving's performance. How do you feel about his performance? What he did, his performance at Dallas versus his performance at Boston?
I think he disappeared. I mean, there's no other way getting around that. And Dallas, even when they lost Game 3, I think he still
Hmm.
had. If I think he had 30 points or something like that, he was still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was that close game that I thought that Dallas was going to get. Game 3, I thought it wasn't a blowout. I thought Dallas could win that. That was the game that Luka fouled out, right? That was the one he fouled
Yeah,
out like
Kyrie
three and a
Irving
half
had
minutes.
Kyrie Irving had 35 points on he was really good, 46% shooting, 13 to 28 from the field, 4-6 from 3. But every loss that Dallas had this series, they didn't crack 100 points. Every single loss. The only time that they cracked
Well,
100 points
every single
was
loss they
game
had
4.
this every single loss they had this series is Kyrie didn't crack 20 points. I mean,
That's an
if you
interesting
really
point.
if you really go back and look at it, he had I think he
Outside of game 3.
yeah,
Outside of game 3, yeah.
outside of game 3, but yeah, outside of game 3, but if you really look at it, in Boston, game 1 and 2 play terrible, and then game 5, obviously, I think he was 15 points, only made 5 shots out of 16 attempts. He facilitated the ball, had 9
Damn.
assists, but
Yeah. Game 1, 12 points. Game 2, 16 points. Game 1, 12 points on 6 and 19 shooting, 0 of 5 from 3. He was
yep,
terrible. Like
yep.
he was this series. This is my thing with Kyrie Irving, man. Like a lot of people call him the most skilled player of all time, and I just don't see it. I don't understand. I think that he can dribble really good. I think he's probably
I
the
think he's
greatest
got.
ball
I think he's
handler to
got
ever
some of the
play,
best.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think he's
yeah,
got
but
some of the
that's
best
where it
ball
ends for
handling.
me. That's where it ends for me. Like the nice finishing with the left hand floaters under the
But everybody
up.
can do
Yeah,
that. I mean,
not
I mean,
not at the level
not
of Kyrie. I
everybody, but
understand, but
not everybody.
yes, it's
But
not. That doesn't
I
make you
mean,
the most skilled to me. That doesn't make you the most
there's
skilled.
other. Okay, let me backtrack that. Not everybody, but there's other players in the league who can make insane finishes such as
For
that.
sure,
But I
Jamal
will,
Murray is one of them.
yeah, but I'll say his what separates him from a lot of players is his ball handling. He's got crazy
Yeah.
handles. I mean, I will definitely give him that. And I mean, but his some of his shot selection was just
Yes,
off in
bro.
this
That's what I.
series,
Yes,
and
yes.
it was just. I
He
mean, he did
doesn't
do a good
create
job.
space. He
He
doesn't really
he's
create space. Drew Holiday and Derek White are just as tall, if not taller, just as strong, if not stronger, just as
Yep.
quick, if not quicker. You know what I'm saying? So those guys made him really work and they put him in the box for the majority of the series. And you see that all of this skill that everybody loves to talk about, like, where was it when you needed to get buckets? Where was it?
My biggest issue with Dallas is going back to what we were saying at the beginning of it, or what I was saying at the beginning, where Boston had a much deeper team, more rounded team. Their top 6 players can start on any team in the league, and whereas Dallas, their top 2 players are obviously Luka and Kyrie, and
Mm,
then it kind of wavers from
mm,
there. PJ Washington,
yeah,
Gafford.
yeah. Derek Lively.
You know, yeah, Derek or Blake Lively. So it's just like, but my thing Dallas that I saw a lot with Dallas that really didn't force the issue for Boston to have to do anything is Luka brings the ball up, Kyrie brings the ball up, and it's a lot of ISO until about 8 seconds left into the shot clock before they pass it. There's no ball movement. There's no moving the rock around. So it's easy to guard a team where you're not setting screens for anybody. You're not trying to get open, and you're just letting Kyrie or Luka manage or handle the rock until there's 8 seconds left. And if they can't shake whoever they're on, you're basically getting a horrendous shot. And
That's where you got to give Boston credit for, though.
yeah.
Boston's
Oh
game
no,
plan
I'm
enticed
giving
Luka and Kyrie to go
I'm
ISO
giving
ball. You know what I'm
I will
saying?
give Boston that, but at the
Mm.
same time, Dallas did not make any efforts to force the issue with Boston, where Boston didn't have to, hey, it's like, uh, damn it, I keep forgetting. Derek White. Derek White is out there guarding Luka, and you got Drew Holiday out there guarding Kyrie. You don't really have to worry about anybody coming up and running a screen on you, so you can stay focused on one-on-one matchup and playing tough defense. And that's okay. So that's one thing I got to give a shout out to. Obviously, there was a lot of questionable. There is some questionable calls. I loved how the refs let the players play this year in the playoffs.
For sure.
They let them be physical. They let them play hard. And what would you normally call a personal foul in the regular season was just a hard play in the playoffs. I loved it. I mean, and the one thing I enjoyed is a lot of the players weren't bitching about it. They weren't complaining about some of the calls. There were some, but don't get me wrong, there could have been a hell of a lot more.
Yeah,
just play the game.
Absolutely. I want to talk about Jaylen Brown's just finals run. Well, not really the finals run. I want to talk about him in the Eastern Conference Finals. Him in the finals, Eastern Conference Finals. Obviously, he wins the Larry Bird Award. And in the finals, in a surprise to me, it was very surprising. I was actually shocked when I seen Shams make the tweet that Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP, because I just felt like the kind of closeout game that Jason Tatum had, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, that would get him the Finals MVP, especially because of the game 4. Yeah, but when you look at the totality of this series, I think Jaylen Brown's defense on Luka Doncic. Yeah. I think that Jaylen Brown's just his offensive awareness, the moments.
I think a lot of it was his efficiency.
Game 3. When even though Tatum had 31, the Mavericks went on a 22-2 run. Jaylen Brown stopped the bleeding that game. He really stopped the bleeding and kind of got Boston out of their own way offensively to close that game out. And I think that right there, you can't forget moments like that, because Jason Tatum had a great game 5 and he was great. And I think that Jason Tatum, if he would have won Finals MVP, I wouldn't have been mad at it. But I'm happy that Jaylen Brown got it. He got left off of All-NBA team. I think he got left off the Olympic roster, which is I think is crazy. But it's just validation for Jaylen Brown, and this shows that he has always deserved this recognition. He has always deserved this credit that he's gotten.
It's always been Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. This right here kind of allows him to step out of the shadow of Jason Tatum and kind of be on his own tier, be on his own 2 feet, not behind him. It's not Batman and Robin. It's, I don't know.
Batman and Superman.
Batman and Superman. There you go.
Yeah.
It's, I got to give him props. Definitely, I think a lot of it had to do with his defense, because he played really great defense in this series.
He was phenomenal on Luka yesterday. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, you want to give it to, you want to talk about Drew Holiday and Derek White's defense and their contributions, but let's be straight up. I mean, Jaylen Brown's defense was insane. And you know what? I got to give a shout out to, since we haven't recorded since the Western Conference Finals, I got to give a shout out to Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was instrumental in that Game 3 comeback as well, because he was staying aggressive as well. So it's like, I mean, the team, it didn't matter what was going on, obviously, except in Game 4 when they were just like, yeah, we're already on the bus headed to the airport at halftime. At any given moment in that series, they weren't out of it. Anybody could step up and take over in the moment. There was moments for Drew Holiday, moments for Jaylen Brown, moments for Jason Tatum. And the one thing
that's what I liked about their team.
Oh, and I gotta, I'll say this for Jason Tatum: when his shots weren't falling, I was sitting there watching, I was just like, he's not having a scoring night, but he's facilitating and getting the rest of the team involved and finding open passes for his team, whether they're making their shots or not. I think there was one play I saw, I want to say it was in Game 3 when they're coming back, and he was down in the low post, and for some reason, Dallas got caught lacking or sleeping, and Jaylen Brown just kind of walked right into the paint. Nobody was there, and it was a wide open pass for Jason Tatum to make. But it's that's the things that I feel like Dallas could have done to kind of force the issue. Is there was no ball movement, and there was no off ball screens. There was no off ball movement of any way, shape, or form. They got caught sitting there watching Luka isolate on whoever he was isolating on, and then the same with Kyrie when he brought it up, and then when there's 8 seconds or 7 seconds left on the shot clock, they decide to make their move if there's a move to make. And then they're either forcing up a bad shot or they're giving the ball to somebody with less time to make a solid shot or a positive opening for them. So
I think that when you look at the difference between Boston's, then we'll go to the last after this one. I think that when you look at the different levels of attack, Luka and Kyrie attack from different parts of the court than what Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown attack from. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
difference between having guards and having wings. And the
Yep.
difference is Celtics have guards and wings that both can do multiple things. Whereas
Right.
Dallas just have the guard play. They don't have wings that can do anything. They don't have bigs that can do anything. Their bigs, their role players are dependent upon Kyrie and Luka
Yep.
Doncic's greatness to get off. If you look at Minnesota, they trapped, they doubled. And that's how the role players got involved with assists and hockey assists. And they just was everywhere. Like I said, like you said, like I said, Minnesota just didn't have the experience and the wherewithal to know how to handle it. You feel what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
Dallas did. Dallas played a team that had the wherewithal, that had the experience that can match them, and they completely took Dallas out of
They
what they
played.
wanted to do.
They
They didn't
they
give them
they
any
played.
corner threes or lobs the first two games.
They played a Minnesota Timberwolves. They played the Minnesota Timberwolves team with experience. That's what they played in the finals.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the equivalent
Mhm.
I'm giving. I'm not
I
obviously
understand
the
what you're saying.
Celtics are their own team, but basically what they were lacking in the Western Conference Finals was experience. They walked into that in the NBA Finals. They
Yeah.
played against a team who has the talent and the experience, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
it was never. I mean, after games 1 and 2, it was. I'm like,
Yeah.
game
I
3
missed game
was.
two, but I watched game one and game three. Game four, I fell asleep on. And of course, I watched game five. I really only
Clearly.
missed one game this series. But last question before we get out of here, man. Do the Boston Celtics have a chance to become the new NBA's dynasty? A lot of people want to talk dynasty talk with the new CBAs, with the new rules and how they're set up. It's extremely hard to repeat, let alone be a dynasty. But Boston
Oh,
is
yeah.
very rare. They're a very rare case. They actually have They have 7 of their own first round picks plus other teams' picks. They got picks. They got 2 first round picks from the Porzingis trade. They traded like they got Porzingis and got picks like first round picks to come with
Yeah.
Porzingis because
Well,
of his injuries
that came back
history.
because
Yeah,
of his
you know
injuries. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, do you think? And then Jaylen Brown is 27. Jason Tatum is 26. Uh, do you think that this team has the opportunity to become the new dynasty of the league? Because I don't see anybody in the East coming, like to knock them off.
I wouldn't see why not. I think
Mhm.
it comes down to, though, the first thing it comes down to, and this is I never, I mean, I can understand it's a double bladed sword with what I'm about to say. Players chasing the bag, and then players chasing rings. If you want to chase the bag, that's your MO. Do your thing. Chances are, though, you're not going to be able to chase a ring because there's not going to be enough money to go around to build a solid team. Because there's going to be teams that are built like the Celtics who have multiple players who can be all stars. I mean, I think Drew Holiday was an all star at one point in his career. He
Yes,
could probably be a reserve in the Eastern Conference, if I'm not mistaken. Al Horford was an all star at one point in his career. Obviously, you got Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are your 2-headed monster, but they're all stars. Derek White isn't an all star, but he's a
he's
great.
probably going to be in the Olympic
It
team if
pro-
Kawhi Leonard can't hurt. If
ex-
Kawhi Leonard can't play.
if Kawhi Leonard can't play. But I mean, it's if you want to have a team, if you want to have a shot at a title, you're going to have teams like Boston who you got players who are like, you know what, I'm not chasing the bag. I want a ring. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that's how you
The
build a
thing,
dynasty. That's
the
what
thing
Golden
about
State did.
Boston is everybody is under contract except for Derek
Yeah,
White. Derek White is the only one that's about to, and I think he's going to get an extension. I don't see a world where Boston lets him walk. Jason Tatum is about to get $325 million. Like I don't
yeah,
see Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, all those guys are under contract. Porzingis signed an extension. Drew Holiday signed an extension. Boston is loaded. Like they got
yeah.
their guys under contract. They play. They know the system. They're only going to get stronger next year. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like
Let me ask
this
you this
team might
question.
be.
Let me ask you this question. Does when you say dynasty, is dynasty uh based off of titles or not? Because if you want to make an argument, they've kind of already been a dynasty because for the most part they've had this core group of players already. They've just added Porzingis late. They added Drew Holiday at the beginning of the year. If I'm not, I think that's when it was the beginning of the year. Yeah, it was with the Damian Lillard trade took place and all that. So
I think that they can. I think that they could. To answer your question, no, you have to win a championship. You have to win at least another. They have to win at least another championship. And even if they go to the finals and they lose like another one, or they lose two and then they win one of the, in between that those two losses,
I understand
like to me, that's dynasty type of stuff because you're consistently in the mix. A lot of people think in order to be a dynasty, you have to win at least two. I mean, at least three, in like a 4-year stretch or a three-peat or something like that. I don't really imagine in this era of NBA that there's going to be any other team that does that.
Hard.
Exactly. It's not going to be.
It's hard
with the contracts and everything like that.
I think Tom Brady, Tom Brady was asked this question a few days ago when I was reading it, because they were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs because they just went back to back, and he was asking if they could be the first ever NFL team to go to do a three-peat, and he's like, it's difficult at that point because now you've got, I mean, you already had a target on your back, but now it is bright red and it is as big as it can go. You're going to get every team's absolute best every single week, and then on top of that, there's not going to be there's going to be players who want more money, so they're not going to be there. The team is going to be ever changing, and so it's the same concept in the NBA. There's a reason why we haven't seen a three-peat since the Bulls did it. It was the Bulls, or did the Lakers?
No, the Lakers. The Lakers
did it. Okay, yeah, the Lakers did it with when Shaq was there. That's right. There's a reason
the Heat
why
should have done it, but LeBron
the Heat should have done
folded.
it. He should have done it, and if I'm not mistaken,
the Warriors too.
Yeah,
the Warriors too
had a shot at it.
Yeah. Clay and Kevin Durant both got
hurt.
Really serious injuries in the finals, so that stopped them from three-peating.
Yeah, but there's a reason why it's not
injuries
all the time. Injuries.
Injuries. Yeah.
Injuries.
Perfect example.
So to answer your question, yes, I can see them being the next dynasty. I got one for you because this was something that I talked about with a couple of guys at work. Jason Tatum came into the league and he was already a really solid player. Do you think him being really good when he came in his rookie year, as great as that is, potentially messed him up on winning an MVP moving forward? Because I was going to say he came in at such a high point. There's only so much more he can increase on his resume to where it's like, okay, can he really be? Can he be?
You talking about like regular season MVP?
Yeah, regular season MVP.
Jason could have won regular season MVP this season, but it was a game where Boston was kind of rolling, and they played the Denver Nuggets like on ABC on like a Saturday or Sunday at Boston. Denver went in there and kind of like just showed that like Jokic is on another level. The Denver Nuggets were on another level. It was another game where it was in January. It wasn't on national TV, but it was like a game where when the Clippers were clicking on all cylinders, they had Harden, they had Paul George, they had Kawhi. The Clippers went in there and mud stomped them, And I remember Stephen A. Smith loudly on First Take saying he's the best player on the best team and da-da-da. He was trying to build him a case. And then Jason kind of had some bad stretches and some bad moments versus some good teams. And that kind of did him in. I don't think that Jason cannot win an MVP because of anything that happened in the past or how successful he's been early on in his career. I think it all depends on his play in the regular season.
I was going to say, the one thing that I've noticed with the MVP award, the last 5 to 10 of them, has been based on what that player has done that year. Like, he could next year come out and just have an insane year compared to there's only been a couple of players who, I mean, obviously we're going to be biased because we're Houston fans, but the year that Harden should have won his first MVP, and I think they gave it to Steph. And of course all Houston fans were like, it should have gone to Harden. And then he backed it up. I think it was the next year was when they gave it to Westbrook when he averaged a triple double
No,
in
so
his rookie.
Harden when he first lost out on MVP in 2015, he didn't win until 3 seasons later in 2018. But he had second place finish in 2017. 2016, that was the year where him and Dwight was beefing. They won 41 and 41 games. They went 41 and 41, and they even left James Harden off an All NBA team that year. So it was like a really bad look for the NBA, in my opinion. And it was a bad look for James Harden. But yeah, I will say that he didn't win until 3 years later. But I think that it's different for Jason Tatum, man. I just think that his play in the regular season, his
I
numbers that
think
he puts up are not consistent.
But the one thing that I think he'll have the one thing that I think will be working best for him compared to Harden and even Jokic in current time is the competition in the East. He should be able to steamroll the competition in the East and put up solid.
But when you're doing that, what are your numbers going to be? When you're steamrolling and your team is winning every game by an average of 11 to 12 points per game, and you a top 10 team in terms of point differential in NBA history, what are your numbers looking like? Your numbers are not going to be like a Luka or a Jokic who are not doing teams like that. Your record, your numbers are going to be 26, 27 points per game respectively, while the guys that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 32, while Luka is averaging 33, while Embiid is averaging 31. And when those guys' numbers are like that, yours are not going to be highlighted as much when you're winning as a team. Jaylen Brown is pitching in, Porzingis is pitching in, Drew Holiday is pitching in. That's what's going to happen.
That's what I was getting ready to say. When it comes down to the dynasty question, well, when you have a dynasty, chances are you're not going to be winning individual awards such as that.
You can't say that though, because Michael Jordan, Jason Tatum is just not that. I don't think that Jason Tatum is that type of regular season player. I just don't. I think that even with this championship, it's okay not to jump off of a cliff when somebody wins a championship and say they're the best player in the NBA. Jaylen Brown just won Eastern Conference MVP and Finals MVP. I don't think there is a soul in the NBA or fans or otherwise that is going to call Jaylen Brown the best player in the NBA. Like, we clearly know when Jokic did it, it's a difference from how Jokic
not even the NBA
and how Jaylen Brown looked.
Not even the NBA. I don't think you're going to have any fan or any
that's what I said. Exactly.
Anybody say Jaylen Brown is the best player on the Celtics?
Well, yeah. I mean, you might have people that say he's the best player on the Celtics. There are people that were adamant even before. Like, if you could go back to 2022 when because Jason Tatum kind of folded in 2022 finals versus the Warriors, and Jaylen Brown showed up. And a lot of people at that point started saying Jaylen Brown. It was like little whispers before that, but in 2022, the whispers became shouts.
That falls onto the different mentalities of the two players. Jaylen Brown seems more of an aggressive player, more of a I'm going to go get my shot. Where Jason Tatum is a little more, I don't want to say passive, but he plays a little more to that style where he's going to get the team involved. Like, he's going to do what's best for the team before he goes and gets a shot for himself, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, but I think that I just think that it's just a different style of approach, man. I don't really think that Tatum is doing anything differently than Jaylen. I just think that it's just one of those situations where they both have different styles of play and they both bring different aspects and strengths to the team. But let's close it out so we don't run like a long time. We want people to watch, obviously. But man, this has been fun, man. Again, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. K-Steg, thank you for joining me, man. I know you've been grinding and working a lot, man, as have I. And look, it's just been fun, man. Let's do this again. Let's not wait a month, 100%. Too. Hey, I'm going to start doing on my personal channel, WNBA. I'm going to, as I have time throughout the day, I'm going to really start keeping up with the schedule, especially since NBA is over with. And I want to follow the Caitlin Clarks, the Angel Reeses, the Asia Wilsons, the Brianna Stewarts. I want to follow those type of players just to bring content to us and bring more attention to the WNBA game, okay? We can do that, man.
100%.
All right, man. Wait, Red Nation Blogger, out. K-Steg. Yeah. Have a good one, man.
Adios.